Helen, I've got a bone to pick with you.
Tell me.
You're the reason, well, not all the reason, but some of the reason why I'm pressing pause on this podcast, which I'm not sure has been announced at the time of this airing, but hey, I'm saying it now. And the reason why is because you and I did some work before Christmas, around about Christmas time.
It was just before Christmas, I think, yeah.
On Bridget.
The lovely Bridget. What's Bridget got to do with you dropping a podcast after 70 episodes? Pray tell.
Doing the work on the ideal client attraction work I did with you about Bridget, who is my ideal client avatar, helped me to start to think about my whole business from the perspective of Bridget. And in doing that, it enabled me to look at every single facet of my business and look at it in a way that meant I wanted to completely overhaul things.
This is unfortunately, a bit of a side effect of doing the work. You start, because in most of us in business, we look at our business from our perspective, and we don't really get the opportunity, if you like, to look at it from the client's perspective, because we're not our ideal client. But when we create our ideal client, and then we create a lens of which to look at us from, then we start to see things a little bit differently.
Well, we do, because in doing that, which is what I did, and we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of what this all is in a minute for anybody that doesn't know and is listening and is like, what the hell are we talking about? You'll find out, don't worry, is that when we do that, I realised how I built a business with all of these systems in place, focused not from that client perspective. And one of the things was my podcast. And that was seen for me because I've really enjoyed it. It's been an absolutely amazing thing to do. But I wasn't looking at it from that perspective. I was more looking at it from the perspective of, I love doing podcasts. I love chatting to people.
I love doing podcasts, and everyone's got a podcast, so I've got a podcast, and we've all got podcasts.
Rather than, what is the purpose of that? And because my podcast is part of my big content system I've got, is the beginning point of that. So I needed to completely flip it all around, which I have done. And we'll go into, as I say, the details in a minute, but going through the process with you, and now also as part of the amazing mastermind you're doing, it's really helped me to look at that. So it may be a bone, but actually it's a really good thing, because it's enabled me to free up time in order to think really strategically about this. So let's talk about what this is. I think it's important for someone listening to understand that this isn't new for you, because you've been doing this a very, very long time. But there is a newer approach. There's a newer angle that you have embarked upon over the last few months. And I'd love to just hear the journey of that, if possible, in a.
I was just saying before we started filming about how I'm back to back today, and I'm back to back in interviews today, which is good because we get to do all the interviews in one day. I'm only dressed from the waist up, and we get to get out some content. But the last one, she said, we're all watching. So similar to you, been around a long time, 10 years or more, been in the same spaces, same places, same faces, right? Been around a long time. Old timers, I would say. He said, we're all watching, and we all thought, ooh, that was brave. To watch you build up a business over 10 years, consistently showing up, being the LinkedIn person, and growing that authority audience, doing all. And it's funny because I was like literally ticking off the online entrepreneur bingo as I went, doing all the podcasts, doing the guest expert, doing my own methodology, really, getting known for it, getting famous for it, being consistent, showing up, doing LinkedIn, doing Facebook, going to events, speaking on stages, all that stuff, right? Tick, winning the awards and all that, right? And I said to my husband, when I've made the decision, I was like, who actually does that? Who builds a business that 10 years, it's still really successful, it's a license to print money, I still love what I'm doing, I love talking about what I do, I love teaching it, I love training on it, I can create content on it forever, it's easy and fun and enjoyable for me. Who stops doing that to go and start doing something else that you're not well known for, that people don't know you for. You've got no systems for it. You've got no branding for it. You've got no positioning for it. It's literally something you've just decided this is what you're going to do now. It's like, who actually even does that? And it was a massive risk because the business, and I talk about it quite openly, I talk about it on my podcast, the business has been in really like financial crisis, I would say, in a lot of ways, like an instability from a way of like, as a consequence of a lot of things that happened, COVID and beyond, personal stuff with me and business stuff, right? So it was almost like a really risky move anyway. It wasn't like, oh, there's loads of cash flow in the business, we can invest heavily. Of course you can take basically 3 months off to write a book, to create 2 seasons of a podcast, to reposition yourself, investing in rebranding, everything, all the operations that come with it, it was just a stupid thing to do.
But it wasn't, though.
It wasn't. But it was like, it brought me back to what's really important to me. And one is I've got to feel alive every day.
Right.
I've got to feel alive every day. I've got to feel like I'm making a difference every day. And I've got to feel like I'm taking big risks because that's in my entrepreneurial DNA. And I want to lead by example. I want people to look at me and think, yeah, you can do that. You can just do something else just because you want to, even if it's not the right time, even if it's not the great business strategic move, even if it's not the great marketing move. It's like, but it was important to me. And doing the LinkedIn stuff, all the love in the world for it. I didn't fall out of love with it, really. Still loved it. I still enjoyed it. But I did feel like by the end of the year, I always felt a little bit depleted, a little bit like the cat with all the kittens. The kittens are thriving, but I'm knackered, What I realized is that when I talk about ideal client alignment stuff, ideal client attraction, ideal client avatar, all the A's work for the branding, which is useful. It's like, I feel like I'm plugged into the mains. I'm not the battery pack.
Yes.
I'm not having to create that energy to give to other people. It's like, I am that energy.
Yes.
And all I need to do is be in front of people and the energy beams out. And I can see the physical difference in my face this year to the end of last year. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can see it in myself. I look better. I feel better. I know I'm in alignment. And it's almost, it wasn't that I was not in alignment. It's just there was even more alignment to come.
Right. So let's talk about that word.
Yes.
Because that's where, these big shifts have been, these seismic shifts have been happening for me. And that word is at the center of it. And I've got a whole ChatGPT project called Project Realignment, right? And it's just like all of it is in there. And when you said joy and that you're not the battery pack, you're plugged into the mains. Let's talk about that. Because I think for me, that's been the most important part of this process. And for you and what you're doing, it's kind of at the center of everything. And people are like, oh yeah, well, we know what alignment means, but let's identify what that means in this context.
Yeah, you might know what alignment means, but do you know what alignment feels like? And that is a very important and subtle difference. When I talk about aligning yourself, number one, getting close to yourself and spending time with yourself, about who you are and what you're here to do. Alignment with self, and then alignment with offer, and then alignment with client. I think we've been getting it all the wrong way around. And I think in the ideal client world, if you like, of which I'm like, I guess I'm a part of now, it's alignment with client is the end bit, not the beginning. And I feel like we've been almost conditioned in business that the client's the most important thing. Well, it's not. You're the most important thing. Yeah. So instead of it's like there's a knowing and there's a feeling, right? And there's 2 elements to everything that we do. And this is the big awakening that I've had, is that strategy takes me so far, but how I feel about it is the important bit. Yeah. And someone asked me, what does an aligned entrepreneur even look like? I'm like, well, it looks like someone who's having fun. An aligned entrepreneur brings the joy to the business, does not wait for the business to bring joy to them. And I think as somebody who, and I know this was annoying if you're not there yet and you're listening to me, and I get it, I'm very privileged. As somebody who has ticked every online entrepreneur business bingo box, including making $1 million, having £1 million year, all that kind of stuff, multi-6-figure launches, tick, tick, tick. What I realized is strategy will take you so far, But if you are waiting for the strategy to bring the joy, you're going to be waiting a very fucking long time. And that's when I tell the story on my podcast about hitting the million in revenue. It did not feel great. It did not feel like I thought it was going to feel. Whereas if we can get to a position where we feel good no matter what the business is doing, good or bad, and we don't attach our joy to the good times and let the bad times drag us into the depths of despair, because if you allow that, you are in for a roller coaster of a ride as being an entrepreneur. If you make your business makes you mean something to you. So if you attach your, this is so cheesy, but if you do attach your feelings of self-worth, your confidence, your belief in yourself, your ability to feel good, the way you act and operate in the world with the people who love you most, if you allow your business to affect that on a good way and a bad way, that almost mania, which is business, and again, I have the hindsight of looking back and seeing this now, like, you are going to live a really difficult life. And there's an option to step out of that and say, this is who I am and what brings me joy. And whether my business is performing or not, I know how to make myself feel good. And when I feel good, that is the energy I'm going to take to my business rather than the other way around. It's just switching it. Yeah.
Right. So going back to my example of, I'm currently in the process of doing this, but I've done some steps already. I'm, following your steps, which are fantastic. And we'll talk a bit about that in a minute. But the way that I kind of likened it was, if you build a business and then it's like when you buy a home that needs doing up. It might be like an older property and it's got like loads of layers of wallpaper on the walls, and you need to strip those all back, and then maybe you need to get to the original flooring, like in the kitchen, to look at the kind of the core of what your joy actually is, because you've built up all of this stuff in your business, doing all of these different things, and it's not actually connected to what really brings you joy.
Yes.
So how do we do that then? What do we do to start there?
So what's really interesting, and this is not the answer to the question, but what has been really interesting for me reflecting on the last 6 months is that the pivot, if you like, the great pivot, has brought out of the woodwork all of my old friends. Like literally everyone who booked a one-to-one, I've known for 10 years. They've been in the game a long time. And I don't think that is a coincidence, because yes, of course, these people know me, love me, didn't want to do LinkedIn with me, and have just watched me and been friends with me, right? Which is great. And it was lovely. But what I realized having done, so I walk my own talk. So I did a lot of one-to-one to really hone in the strategy, all that kind of stuff, and really get the feedback and listen to what the clients say and all that kind of stuff. And get the confidence in myself that, yeah, I've nailed it, and I can do this repeatedly, not just for myself and not for a couple of people, but again and again. But what I realised is, let's call us the old timers, Helen. We've been around a bit, we've been around the block, we've had the good times about it. We've seen people come and go, we don't get involved in the drama anymore.
No.
We've seen it, done it, we've been involved in it. You've always been a bit more level than me, but we've just been in the game a long time. And you can't switch that out. You can't switch 10 years experience for one. It doesn't work like that, right? And what I've seen is that we've all, me included, you included, we've all built a house around us the best way we knew how, with the resources we had at the time, but none of us have sat and looked at it for so long because we're so busy putting on fucking extensions and changing the windows and doing the roof and putting a new carpet in and buying some more stuff and B&M to try and, we've just been putting more stuff in it, filling it with new people, filling it with more stuff, filling it with, extending it, growing it, picking it up and moving it, but never actually really spending time in it and thinking, how does all of this stuff make me feel when I'm in it?
Right.
And it's such a great analogy, because I bought £1 million house and I've lived in it for 4 years, and I've realised it's not that, I've done it now. I don't need to live in £1 million house forever. I can just sell this house and buy a house and not have a mortgage and live a different life, right? But we don't do that, and we just don't do it. And what's happened with these one-to-one calls is that we've been able to take some time and hold some space. So once I use a cheesy line, to stop. And that is the missing piece in most entrepreneurs' business, is taking some time to stop and connect back in strategically and spiritually with yourself. And we surround ourselves with people who are so invested in us keeping the house exactly the way it is. You know, our clients want us to stay the same. Our peers want us to stay the same. Our mentors want us to stay the same. They really, because everyone's invested in the house, right? This is a hard built, blood, sweat and tears house. You've put your heart and soul into it. You know, there's been a lot of good times in the house, been a lot of bad times in the house. You know, there's a lot of energy in the house, you know. It's a difficult decision to strip it all back or to start again or to fucking blow it up and then build a new one, whatever, right?
Or burn it down, as a lot of people say. I burn my business to the ground.
Yeah, burn it to the ground. Because there's no insurance, right? You have to start again.
And because I'm in this space, I'm just about to enter into this space. It's really exciting for me. But I understand the resistance because of everything you've just explained. And thank you for continuing my analogy there. I really appreciate it.
We ran with it and we took it. I love it.
But what is it? What do we do? How do we do this? How do we get there? How do we connect there first?
So there's a strategic and a spiritual way of doing it. Yeah. So from a strategic point of view, we get real quiet and we start to answer some questions. Who am I? What am I here to do? What do I not want anymore? What do I want more of? Where do I find the joy in my business?
And a fantastic question that you asked.
Yes.
What would I still do if nobody clapped?
Yeah, if nobody was watching. Yeah, what would you still be doing if nobody clapped? Like what are the elements that have ran through your whole business life that you're never going to let go of, no matter what? And what are the things that you're doing for other people? What are the things because other people think you should be doing it? What are the things you're doing because people expect you to do? Like write everything down. Like it's like the kitchen drawer. Get it all out and look at it. You know, you can't see it when it's all in there, crammed in. So really have some self-awareness and self-inquiry and be like, if I never did that thing again, would that be a good thing or a bad thing? You know, if I had to do that thing for the rest of my life every day, is that a good thing? And feel into it. You know, you can literally write things down, put your hand on them, hand on your heart, hand on the paper, and be like, how does this one feel? How does this feel? You can do this with anything, your pricing, your strategies. And for most people, there's almost always something they're doing they don't want to do. And then the power move is just to stop doing it straight away. Don't be available for that anymore.
Yes.
Because it affects your joy, it sucks your soul, and you're doing it out of obligation. You're probably doing it out of obligation to an old client or an old mentor or an old, like something you've massively outgrown. You know, and like stop doing things you don't want to do because it's the fastest way to just make you feel like you're working for your business and you don't like your boss.
Right. And with that, I just want to add a point there. Sometimes it's also doing things differently. So it might not just be about stopping something.
Mm.
You need to go through a process of reconnecting with, asking yourself those questions, and then we'll move on to the next parts in a minute, to be able to understand that you might still want to do the thing, but you want to do it differently.
Which leads us straight on to offer, right? So when we've got clear on who are we and what do we want to do and what are we here to do in the world and all that stuff, what would I do if no one was clapping, right? All that stuff. And what's the thread that runs through your whole life? Not just your business, your whole life, there'll be a thread. You know, when I do one-to-one, we go right back to day one, right? And we piece it together. But like, then it comes to like, what do you want to sell and how do you want to deliver it?
Right.
And why do we stop asking ourselves this?
I don't know. And when I looked at this, because I've been through this part in my project Realignment, I was like, what the hell? What a messy suitcase packed full of rubbish under the bed there. What on earth? And again, I'm this sort of stripping everything. I'm stripping it all back to its essence and then looking at the offers from there. And in doing that, and I'm not quite fully there with some things, but I am with others. Again, it's coming from a place that feels really good because I'm connecting with the person that brings me most joy, that I can really, really help, that I can get the best results for, and therefore create the offer based around those steps of joy.
Exactly. So we need to be clear on simplicity's sake. Let's just look at delivery. Now, not everyone listening to this will be a coach or a consultant or a service provider, of course, but like just using a coach as an example. One of the big breakthroughs I see in clients is when they say, oh, we do a 12-week call, 12-week program, and it's a call every week. And I'm like, why do you do it like that? And the answer is, well, because that's how I've always done it, or that's how I was told to do it, right? It's like, well, could you not do that in 6 weeks? Well, I could, or why don't you? People, doesn't mean just because everyone does 12-week programs doesn't mean you have to. And like, could you not do it in 6 hours? Like, could you not do it in a day? And it's like, and what I'm doing with the client then is just getting into, I call it like Goldilocks it out. Just try it on for size. Does that like 6 hours feels too much, too intense? Then don't do it. But if it feels like, oh, that actually feels really good and exciting and expansive, and then, like I say, then you can never see them again. It's almost like, that feels really good. I can go deep and intense, and then that not my problem. Other people are like, oh, I would hate that because I want to work with someone over a year. Well, that's fine. Then let's do it over 12 months, not 12 weeks, and you've got more expansive. And then maybe, you have 2 tiers where some people get access to you by WhatsApp, whatever, and some people don't. And it's like just trying things on. I'm not saying any business model is right or wrong, but at what point did we all start doing the same sort of thing and not thinking, well, how do I want to deliver it? What works best for me, my energy, my family, my way of working, my logistics? Do I want to work online, offline? You choose.
So let's talk about that as well, because something I've seen you post about is public speaking, right? And obviously a part of my business helps people in that area. And that comes from my background, what I used to do in corporate and all. And my journey into this world came through speaking. And now I'm in a place where I can't really get out much. I can't really travel that far at the moment. It's got to be local. It's like local in-person opportunities and things like that. Because I've had a few gigs where I've had to travel, and the stress involved with the childcare arrangements has been too much to enjoy it. So, and for yourself, it's actually just not enjoying it that much, right?
I don't like doing it, yeah.
No.
I don't enjoy it. So, but I also don't enjoy the other stuff of it. If I'm to go somewhere, like you say, get on a train. But what's interesting is I don't want to go and get on a train and go to London to speak on a stage, right? That doesn't work for me right now. 10 years ago, me would have gotten a plane to Bali without second thought.
Right.
What I'm saying is, you've changed, but you've not changed your business.
Right.
It's like you've got to move your business, your offer, your delivery, whatever it might be, even your pricing and your ideal client. It's all changeable. And just because you used to love doing something doesn't mean you have to love it and do it forever. And it's having that permission to just drop the rope and say, I'm not available for that anymore. I love speaking online. Love it. Yeah. But there'll probably get a point where I'm like, I need to get out of my house. And then that's different again. But it's saying yes when you mean no is the problem that causes the problem, causes the friction on a soul level where you've not been true to yourself, you've not listened to yourself, you've said yes when you meant no, and therefore future you is going to hate you because you could be on the train going to London thinking, I hate this, I hate being away from my family, I hate not standing on stage. So it's about self-awareness, not about me saying this is what your business model should be. It's about you saying this is what my business model should be.
Right. So hopefully anyone listening to this, not knowing this process, not knowing anything about what Helen's doing or Helen's done, you can start to see where we're starting here, where we start with this process. I'd like to touch on the map because I was lucky enough to kind of converse with you at this sort of the seedlings of where this started. And I love an expert method. I'm all about the expert method. And it's really important to be able to articulate all the gold in your head in a way that is easy for people to understand. And that is what you've done with the map. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so the big breakthrough for me was realizing that there's these 3 rings of alignment that we sort of talked about when we had our session. So the most important one is the soul, is the self, sorry. So the self is the bit we talked about before. This is about you and who you are and what you're here to do. And then the next bit is the offer, as in what is it you're selling and how are you selling that and how are you delivering it, which we've just talked about. And then around that is the ideal client avatar stuff. So it's that connection, alignment with client. So there's 3 rings, but then we developed it to intersect it horizontally and vertically. So we have what we call above the line. So above the line is strategy. So these are things that you can say, see, you can say, this launch did well, this post is on Facebook. These are things that are happening in the real world, the strategic stuff that we do. So anybody can see you've done these things. Underneath the line is the soul. And this is where all our thoughts and feelings and energetics live. And these are the things that underpin the strategy. And over the years, I've realized that strategy will take you so far, but without really having the thoughts, the feelings, the energetics to support the strategy and how the strategy makes you feel, it's just not going to work. Strategy will take you so far, but having it underpinned with it making you feel good creates this alignment that means that not only does your business perform well, but it also feels good as well.
Right.
So we've got, and then on the left-hand side, we've got negative, on the right-hand side, we've got positive. So we've got strategy negative, strategy positive. So strategy negative is things that aren't working, and you can see they're not working. So it could be no money in the bank. It could be a launch that doesn't sell. It could be, a talk where no one turns up, whatever it might be. Strategy positive is things that are working. So it could be like your email marketing works really well, or you're doing a big launch, or whatever it might be, or you love getting on a stage and that converts really well. So you've got strategy positive, strategy negative. And then underneath, you've got soul negative, soul positive. So public speaking is a good one to use this example, because public speaking for me is very much strategy positive. When I get on a stage, people love me, people buy from me. It's a great way to generate revenue for my business. It's a great way to get known. It's a great way to position myself as an expert. It's like ticks every single box on a strategy level. On a soul level, it makes me feel stressed, anxious, uncomfortable. It makes me feel like all kinds of horrible feelings that makes me horrible to live with in the run up to it, that makes me feel like I've let myself down by agreeing to something that makes me feel this way, which makes me then spiral into a negative place. So there's positive, yes, it's great, but the negative for me now isn't worth it. Whereas speaking online positions me as an expert, gets me in front of lots of people, blah, 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 blah. And on a soul level, I just love it, because I just love I'm very comfortable. I really enjoy it. I think it's really valuable. It can be recorded, it can be used over and over again, all that kind of stuff. So it makes me feel great, and it is great. So it's all about mapping your business above and below the line. So we are focusing on the things that not only work for us, but also feel good for us.
Right. Okay. So I guess the aim with this is to look at things, or to align our business with things that are soul positive.
Yeah.
And strategy positive.
Yeah, basically. And that's when we're in full alignment and full flow, and things start to work.
So let's talk about that, because the kind of premise of this conversation, this candid conversation, is how do we attract the right clients without words? And the reason why I think that's an important topic of conversation is because there's a whole load of stuff that needs to go on below the line in order to even be in a place to say the right words for that client to come. The attraction starts way before you say anything, you post anything, you write anything, you talk about anything, right?
Yeah. So this leads us on to the client avatar work. Again, there's a strategic and there's a spiritual element to it. And this is what I realize now with everything. So the ideal client avatar work gets such a bad press. And I love it, because so did LinkedIn. So it gives me a hill to die on and a battle to fight. So I'm cool with that. I love it that loads of people hate it. I think it's a waste of time. It's great. I can prove
It's a waste of time.
So many people are like, ICA work's a waste of time.
Really? I don't know.
Oh yeah, lots of people. Anyway, ICA work is the most important thing to do in your business, to be honest, in my opinion. And I am prepared to die on that hill. Ideal client avatar mapping means drawing out a stick figure, giving them a name, giving them an age, giving them a life, giving them a job or a business, giving them a lifestyle, and creating a person as if they are a person in a book or a character in a film, to that level. And you can go absolutely mad on this. I've seen 24, 25 pages. You can also do it in 5 minutes. But you have to make assumptions about this person so we can create them as somebody that we can connect with on a strategic and a spiritual level. So we need to make them as a person, not as a group of characteristics. They have to have a name. They have to have an age. They can't be 40 to 45. They have to be 41, 43, 45. Right, they have to have a house to live in. They have to have a job. They have to have, and all that kind of stuff. Because that allows us to then overlay the below the line stuff onto this character. So what is happening for this person underneath the stuff that you can see. And you can say, yeah, that person's that age, that person does this, that person has that for dinner, whatever, right? Underneath all that, how is this person thinking and feeling, and how are their energetics? So what is going on? What are the problems this person's got? So sad face, like what are the problems this person's got that you can fix? Yeah. So like, and what is it about those problems that make them think and feel a certain way? And this is where we can really dig into that dark night of the soul, 4 a.m, what, wakes them up, their anxiety, what is it that's going on? And how can you solve these problems for them as a human being, not as somebody who's going to give you money? And this is extra important if you are selling to corporate.
Right. Oh my God, yeah.
Massive. Yeah, I do a lot of corporate avatar work because people seem to forget that people in corporate are people too. That are worried about their jobs, that want to look good, they want to get a promotion, they want to, feel confident in the next board meeting, they want to go home and be proud of their role at work and the impact that they're having, right? So we create them as a person so we can overlay all the emotions into them. So we work out what our problems are and what the things that we can do can help them. And then we fast forward into the future when you've solved their problem, they've given you the money, they've done the work and they've got the result. And there's a real energetic shift then from where they are now to where they're going to be. And you can really wax lyrical about all the transformational changes they'll experience and what those things mean for them on a strategic, as a things that they can see and say and put a hand on. So what's the impact going to be in a tangible way? But what's the impact going to be in an intangible way on a soul level for this human being? How is it going to change the way they think and feel and operate in the world? Because when we can get into that stuff, then we start to feel much more connected with this human being, right?
We do.
We do, right? And we create them like, you've got Bridget.
I honestly, me and Bridge, right? I've got 3 different Bridgets now because I have 3 different audiences, right? And that is an important thing, right? That's an important thing. It needs to be distinguished by offer, by yeah. That one of the breakthroughs I had in my session with you was when I said that Bridget gives herself FOMO.
Love that.
Yeah, because of the personality trait that Bridget has, which is that, slightly sort of always underlying hum of anxiety, drive and excitement to achieve and create. But yet her thoughts and all her ideas, she's not moving fast enough for them to happen. So she's giving herself FOMO with all of the things that are remaining in her head that haven't actually been achieved or done. So when I got that bit, I was able to really then work with that and then come up with a whole load of other areas. I really feel that quite deeply. Obviously, I've got my own type of connection to that, but that's okay, right?
Yeah, well, and I've got my own connection to that. So when you said it, I felt it, I was like, whoa, that really spoke to me. And that's the point. That is the point. The more you can get under the skin of the person, into their hearts and minds, and, the things they don't even dare say out loud to themselves.
Right.
That they don't admit to themselves, never mind somebody else. So then you stop trying to be a marketer, which is the death knell of all content, right? And you start connecting with people on a human to human connection level without just agitating their pain, right? Instead, you come in from a place of love and connection, and I see you and I feel you and I want to help you, which is very different to saying like you're a worthless piece of shit and that's why you need my thing.
Right.
Going into the things that they're not saying out loud makes people feel very seen and heard and understood. And if there's one thing the world needs, it's to be seen and heard and understood. And the more we move in, and we're both massive AI fans, so this isn't a negative on AI. I love it and I'm there for it and I'm obsessed with it. It's like, but the more we move into that world, the more people are going to need that feeling.
Really good point.
That you see me and you feel me and you understand me.
Really good point.
That they feel safe to be open and honest and vulnerable with you and talk about the problems they've got that you can solve. And this is whether you sell a transformational life coaching package or a decent pair of shoes, by the way. This is not just for you if you sell coaching. This is for you if you sell products, services, you're a VA, you're a dog walker, you're whatever it might be. It's not just about coaches and consultants, although obviously this works well for them. But also when we've got the person and the problems and what they want and the outcomes that they want, not only have we got unlimited content forever, especially when you plug it all into ChatGPT, right, and spin it all out and say, no, go deeper, and it doesn't get cross with you, it just keeps going and going, all of it. But then we can actually, we call it a map, because now, once we've done that, we then reconnect the offer with this one person. and really define what is it about the thing you do and the way you do it that this person really values, that really has an impact for them and makes this really a powerful, compelling proposition for that one person. And then you start to see as the entrepreneur actually how this offer changes this person's life, but you see it in a strategic way and you feel it on a soul level as well, which when at this point in the session I know, do you think that's worth $3,000? And everyone goes, yeah, because you've not really seen it and felt it. You've almost put your prices out there as like, I think I'm worth $3,000. What do you think?
Right.
And that's a really common thing. It's like, I feel like my time's worth $3,000. My expertise is worth $3,000. Do you agree? And that is a really negative energy to come from.
So negative, right?
So negative, yeah. And people can feel it and sense it. But when you're talking about the transformation, and you're talking about the feelings, and you're talking about these intangibles that you almost can't put a price on, but you have to because that's how we exchange time, energy, and transformation, right? Then it becomes not, do I want to pay for either of Helen's times? It's like, I want to feel the feelings in the future, and you can put them into that future with the way that you project your energetics into that space. So when we got the offer client map, then we do the you and them map. So like, what is it about you that Bridget loves? Not what you do and your expertise and how you do it and how it's delivered, but you as a person, Helen to Bridget. Like, what is it? Where do you connect? Where do you bond? Where do you build that like connection on a level that's completely outside of doing business? Because we know that people don't buy on business. They buy because they feel like you're the safe pair of hands that they need, because you have certainty and confidence and clarity on how you can help them with your thing that they don't have. So that's what they're paying for. But you show up as that person when you know the person you're talking to, and you can talk in these really specifics, and the more specific you are, the more powerful it becomes, and the more people are mesmerized towards it, and they say things like, are you watching me?
Yes.
Are you in my head?
You spoke to my soul.
You spoke to my soul. I really felt that on a deep level. People will start to say this because they feel it. So that's the strategic response you'll get. But it's because of the feelings that they get that they feel seen, heard, and understood. And you can't do that by thinking, I'm going to go and talk to anyone over 40 who wants to do a TEDx and get paid for it. Like, you just can't. It doesn't work like that. So if you're listening to this and feeling a little bit triggered, and that's okay, because it's all learning, and I'm learning as I go as well. If you ever say things like, maybe you're this or maybe you're that, like, that is hedging bets, and that loses attention really quickly. But when you say, like, I know you're this and I know you're that, what happens is the person it's meant for will be like, that's me. The person it's not for will be like, that's not me. That's okay. The people don't go, right, I'm never going to work with you again because you're only talking to this person. It's just getting that bullseye for that one person that makes you madly irresistible. So that's the strategic side. But on a soul level, before we write anything, before we show up, before we put all our stuff in ChatGPT, before we do a post, do a video, send an email, to me, it's all about the practice.
Right. So, and this is really important, and because, your ideal client is someone who is connected in some way to something a little bit more spiritual. And so, like me, I am, but I'm also really blimmin' practical.
Same.
Yeah. Right. So that's why I'm an ideal client for you, because I've got that mixture. And I find it's sometimes, I've been doing it a lot more lately, hard to sink into that type of space. So how do you do that?
So, and I'm the same, by the way. Like, I'm not positioning myself as a spiritual guru who, spends her life in devotional practice. What I am is a human being with like 4 teenage children, dog, cat, 4 businesses, and a house, right? So like, but what I would really love is for people to use this as a proactive, preventative practice, rather than, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed, I don't know what I'm doing, nothing's working, I'm going to do the practice, if that makes sense.
God, yeah.
So the point is to build it into your day as best you can.
And also to do this other stuff first, as well, not first, but alongside.
Yeah, so I did a one-to-one with somebody who's in my program, and she's been doing the practice every day, but not really feeling it because she's not done the work. So when we've done the work, she's like, oh, now when we do the practice. So the practice is really simple. It's literally take a deep breath, put your hand on your heart, drop out of your head space into your heart space. That's it. Like literally, people are doing it at home. And then just connecting with your ideal client, like connecting with their energy. You should have a name for them, an energetic imprint of them in your heart, mind, and soul. So connecting with them. If you don't see anything, that's fine. If you see everything, that's also fine. And just ask them, like, what do you need to hear from me today to feel safe that I'm the person to help you? It's just an inquiry. What do you need from me? What do you want to hear from me? What is going on for you? And ask the question and see what they say.
And when I do this, I do get something back.
You always do. Whether it's you, whether it's your thinking brain, whether it's spirit, whether it's who cares, right? You'll get something back. And what I suggest is that you go and post in that energy.
Right. So this is something I don't always do, and I need to do more.
Mm.
So that's a really important part of this practice, right?
So just to post in the energy, because it's about intention for me. It's about like, I want to connect with my client, I want to connect myself, my offer, and my client, and you can do all those three things with self-inquiry. And then when I'm feeling good, because to me, a minute with yourself is like plugging back into the mains. It's just that minute to stop in it. It's that minute to go from out there to in here. In this noisy world with all the marketers, including me, out there trying to get you to buy my stuff. Everything out there is designed to distract you and change your emotional state and get you to take action. So it's a lot, isn't it, going on? And, I scroll till I sleep and I wake up and I go on the phone. So again, I'm not saying I'm a paragon of virtue. I'm just saying that instead of going out there for answers, if I go in there for answers, even if I don't get an answer, I've had a minute to myself, and that's really powerful.
Yeah. And I think I remember you saying, this was years ago, that in the morning, actually, when you're in bed, that sometimes this connection can be quite strong. That's the same for me.
Yeah, and that between waking and sleeping and waking moment.
Yeah.
That's
Before I have to get up and do the school run and all,
life gets in the way.
It could be just a bolt of something that, that comes to you through that connection. And then, that's the thing to say.
That's the time to act on it, because if you don't, it disappears.
It does.
And you forget. So best case scenario, you just start posting, like frictionless between your heart to theirs, and you just put it out there and you don't try and make it marketing, you make it a message from you to them. Worst case scenario, you put it in your notes for later so you don't lose it completely. That's what I would say. Like for me, I have never sat at my computer and wrote content ever. All my content is written like dripping wet, just got out of the shower, and all the water's going on your screen and none of the buttons are working. It's really, or I'm always late for things because I've had a shower and then I've sat in a towel writing content on my phone like this, or I'm sat in my car picking one of my kids up, or I'm sat on the drive thinking I don't want to go in there because life's going to get in the way, or I'm walking the dog. Anything that I've done gives me a bit
in
of
between times.
In between times is where it comes in. So don't wait is what I would say. I would strike while it's hot, and doesn't matter if you sit on the bench at kickboxing and write after you finish training. Everyone's like, do you live here now? And I'm like, no, because I need to write this piece of content that came into my head when I was getting my head kicked in 10 minutes ago. Because you can't think about anything else when you try not to get your head kicked in. So that allows you to bring stuff to the front, and that allowing energy and not the forcing energy of right, I'm going to sit and I'm going to write content for my business because I'm a marketer now. It's like, you can feel it and see it a mile off. Whereas if you remove some of that friction between your thoughts, your heart, your mind, and your thumbs on your phone, I think I said this to a client today. You're going to be posting about this for the next 10 years. Make it easy for yourself. Make it fun and enjoyable. You don't have to write a big long post every time and put a picture of you at the end. That's 10 years ago, but she doesn't know any different because that's what she's only been in business for a year. So that's what she's seen everyone else doing. It's that's what coaches have been doing for years. Just write, she said, it's a WhatsApp. I was like, yes, just write like it's a WhatsApp to you, mate. It doesn't always have to be. Some of my content is beautifully written and polished, usually by a copywriter. And my stuff is, scrappy but it's real, And I think if you haven't got a team that's going to help you create the big content strategy, then make it easy on yourself and don't put pressure on yourself to become a content strategist and post what you think.
Exactly, but that's what I'm talking about in this stripping it all back, because it's in building these huge content systems where we're losing the essence of what we're talking about here.
We are, and I was just reading my book before, because I'm still in the editing phase, which taking me forever. And one of the things that I said was about we're gonna be writing all the time. You're gonna be putting yourself out all the time. You've got to make this easy for yourself, but also like you've got to make it so it's easy for the people. Like we're making it so complicated and difficult for ourselves, and we're showing up on platforms we don't want to be on.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like
Hello, TikTok. Goodbye, TikTok.
I said, if a platform makes you feel like you're on Planet Zog, it's not for you, and that's okay. You don't have to be on everything all the time. I wrote that in my book. No, I reread it today, and I was like, when did I write that? Like, I was just like, well, I thought I'll leave it in. But yeah, like, yes.
It's true. It's true.
But some places you're like, I feel a bit uncomfortable, but I get it, and I'm going to try and spend some time here and feel it, give it a chance. But if it's something you're like, I just can't, I just don't know what's going on here, I can't speak the language, I don't know what's going on, I don't know where I am, I don't know who I am, then you're making it very difficult for yourself if you're going to make that part of your strategy.
Golden advice. Honestly. And because I'm kind of not at the offer part yet. Of like where I'm at in this process, but I'm loving it, and it's really exciting, and your mastermind is amazing, and I think this is an important topic to close out this season of the podcast, because I'm all about the blimmin' words, and yeah, we are still talking about words here, but there's so much more, there's so much underneath what we're saying, and if you can get that alignment, and if you can get that connection, then it feels so much easier. It feels so much more joyful, feels so much more connected, rather than getting, the cold DM, or sending I don't do that, but sending a cold DM saying, you want to drop 2 dress sizes in, 2 months, you don't know the person. That's not aligned.
Does it feel?
No, certainly doesn't feel good receiving that type of message, I tell you.
Like, it all works. I say, like, DMing works, but does it feel good? If you don't feel good, you're not going to enjoy it. You want to send 100 cold DMs a day, people will come back to you and you will sell, because it does work. Just like cold calling or standing outside of Asda asking if you've got Sky TV. But does it feel good standing outside Asda all day asking if people have got Sky TV? So I feel like the missing piece in business is the feelings. It's almost like we've been conditioned to put our feelings to one side and just scale and grow and make money, and money's money, so who cares? It's like no. There's different. There's good money and there's toxic money. So let's attract the stuff that feels good.
Amen to that.
Yeah, we've all taken on clients we knew we shouldn't take on. We've all done projects we shouldn't have took them on, and I get it. Money's money when you've got no money, and I say that from a place of having no money, right? You've got to do things for money that you might not do 10 years from now if you're quite new, but you've got no excuse. Once you're in business a while, and once you've been in the business of doing what you do, and you've got authority, it's about setting boundaries and not letting anyone else tell you what your boundaries should be. Saying, this is what I do, this is who I serve, this is what I charge, and if it's up to you to accept it or reject it. And that's the way it is now. And I think the sooner you can get to that level of certainty and confidence, the better, because sadly, great clients can make you and bad clients can break you. And I've seen great people fall at that hurdle in business and just think, this is too hard, this feels so bad, I'm just going to go back and get a job, or I'm not cut out for it. And it's just not true. It's just about having clarity on who you are and how you want to show up, and how much money you want to make, and who you want to serve. And then that piece really helps you go forward and do the hard things. I'm not saying it's all going to be easy forever. Some things in business is hard, but it makes it a lot easier to do the hard things and get through the hard times when you are aligned with who you are and what you do, and you're not in doubt whether you're doing the right thing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
In alignment. All my guests, I asked the same question to end the conversation. Thank you so much for this. As always, I love talking to you, and I'm loving going through this process. But what words have changed your life?
When you asked me that before, I was like, I've not even thought about this. Will you marry me? They changed my life.
So sweet.
That changed me from hard face, single mum, out my way, scaling my business, into what I call the great softening of becoming a bit soft, being all in touch with my emotions, becoming so focused on my family, and realizing that what's important to me, and you know, it's not $1 million launches, it's not this, it's not that. And that sounds like a cliche, and again, it's annoying from the outside when you've not done millions in revenue. But I think those words really help me see a value in me beyond what I do in business, beyond what I do for clients, beyond what I do for my kids. It was almost like, wow, this person wants me for me, you know? So I think those are the words that changed my life.
Love that. I can really obviously relate to that, because I'm still in that hard still in that, but I can imagine a great softening, and I would, you know, that's a lovely thing, and I totally get it's an identity beyond all those things.
Yeah, and I think it was a really interesting move for me. And also from a business point of view, changing my name was massive.
Right, yeah.
I thought such a, you know, and I had to make a decision, what's more important, how I'm in alignment with who I want to be, which is Stu's wife, or in alignment with what everyone knows me for in my business. And it was a big, that was 2022, it's like 3 years ago now, and it's almost, making decisions based on what feels good rather than what's maybe strategically the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Really powerful, yeah.
Good shout. Thank you, Helen.
Thank you,
I've
Helen.
loved this chat. And do look in the show notes if you want to connect with Helen and find out more about all the amazing things we've discussed.
Thank you. And sorry if I made that the end of the podcast. I take the blame for that. But yes, lots of love to you, Helen. Not seen you for actually ages in real life, but hopefully see you soon. And keep doing what you're doing, because I feel like the best is yet to come for you.
Love that, and I agree.
I'm excited to see what you do when you're fully in alignment. The alignment you didn't even know was available for you. I love that for you. But you got to do the work, and you're in the work right now. So respect to you for that, and I look forward to seeing you on the other side.
Thank you.
Thanks, darling.